Welcome back. We have a major development in the Jeffrey Epstein case. CBS News has learned the missing minute from the Epstein jail video before his death back in 2019 may not be missing at all. Earlier this month, the Justice Department released nearly 11 hours of surveillance footage from outside Epstein's cell. Now, just before midnight, the time code jumped forward on the screen. A government source now alleges the government has a copy of that video that includes that minute, but it's still unclear why the section was missing when the video was first released. CBS News asked the FBI and Justice Department for a response, but they declined to comment. CBS News Justice reporter Jake Rosen joins us now from Washington with more on the fallout. Jake, thank you for joining us today. We know officials, they cited this video as a key piece of evidence in figuring out if Epstein died by suicide. But what could this development actually mean for the death investigation?
Well, it's certainly another question mark that the Trump administration and Justice Department are going to have to answer to. The big question here, Mugo, obviously, is why not just release that full video if it exists, which our CBS News reporting shows that there is an additional copy. This copy, according to metadata and experts that we spoke to, is a screen recording of the original copy, and it does not jive with what Attorney General Pam Bondi said earlier this month, in which she was pressed on what actually happened to that, and she said that the security footage tape basically resets. You lose a minute during that resetting time, and that's why the full video wasn't put out. Obviously, that's not necessarily true, and we don't know. We should say to our viewers what is in that missing, quote, missing minute that the Department of Justice has access to. But what we do know is that they did say this was the full video when they initially put it out. It's clear that that's not true. And in addition to the questions that have really been hovering in the political football that's now been passed between the Justice Department, White House, and Congress about finding answers of what is in these Epstein files and what actually happened to him, this adds one more question mark to this whole situation that is not going to go away anytime soon.
Oh, yeah, it definitely adds another question mark. So a controversy also surrounds Jeffrey Epstein's associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, who was sentenced to 20 years in prison. What do we know about the attempt to overturn her own conviction?
That's right. And while President Trump and Maxwell's attorney did not rule out potentially a conversation last week, giving her some kind of immunity going into the conversations with the second in command of the Justice Department and 2 days of questioning, Maxwell is separately fighting in the Supreme Court to have her conviction potentially overturned. The Supreme Court would have to take this up later in the fall, so there won't be a resolution anytime soon in this. But the argument generally is that there was a promise made to Jeffrey Epstein in 2007, I should say, when he first made a plea agreement with the prosecutor's office in federal prosecutor's office in Florida, in which they said no co-conspirators would be indicted as a result of that agreement. Obviously, that did not happen in New York, a completely separate investigation in which Maxwell and Epstein were later charged, and Maxwell was obviously convicted. They said that this promise to not prosecute co-conspirators should be held to a nationwide standard in terms of this specific promise that was made, and that if a promise is being made like this, it must apply to this, and thus she should have never been prosecuted in the first place. It's novel, and an appeals court sided 2-1 on this, so certainly there is one judge who agreed that there's certainly merit to this argument. The Justice Department has agreed to it, and we'll hear what the Supreme Court has to say if they decide to take this up and hear full breadths of argument on it later in the fall.
Wow. Okay, that's very interesting. I want to switch to a different topic now, though, because the D.C. judge who has sparred with the Trump administration over its mass deportation flights is now getting slapped with a misconduct complaint by the DOJ. What is this complaint about?
Well, that's right. Judge James Boasberg, who is at the center of the months-long back and forth since mid-March over the Trump administration's handling of Alien Enemies Act removals of alleged Venezuelan gang members, the Justice Department has taken issue with his stances in this case since day one, in which he ordered those 2 planes carrying hundreds of men to be returned. They weren't. It set off a months-long saga that is still far from removed. In fact, there was a hearing last week, and in this complaint written by Pam Bondi's chief of staff at the direction of Pam Bondi, CBS News has learned, the Justice Department refers Boasberg's conduct to a judge in the appeals circuit, arguing that his behavior in this case and in a judicial conference in March before this Alien Enemies Act case took off, in which he cast doubt on whether the Trump administration would be willing to follow court orders and could potentially spur a constitutional crisis, in Boasberg's words. They said that because he said that and then went through the motions of this case in which he's repeatedly cast doubt on on the Trump administration and DOJ lawyers and is going through motions, although they're paused now, to hold the DOJ in contempt of court for the way that they have not listened to his arguments and kind of skirted around his demands for answers. They're referring him for some kind of judicial punishment. I should say, just for context for our viewers, that there was a case filed earlier this year in which the Trump administration did the same thing with the judge, and there has not been any kind of resolution to that yet, so we should not expect anything soon on this, but another attack on a judge who has done something that the Trump administration does not want to do here in D.C.
Yeah, it seems to be a pattern with the administration here. Jake Rosen in Washington, D.C. for us today. Thank you so much for your reporting.